Hello, ladies. Welcome back to the Dear Single Women's Podcast. The Dear Single Women's Podcast is a podcast for single women who are healing, growing, living, and loving their lives on their terms. I'm your host, Shanintra, and I thank you for being here. Please follow the podcast on YouTube. You can find me on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, not music, on Amazon. You can find me pretty much anywhere you stream, anywhere you listen to podcasts. Follow me on Instagram, Nubian underscore Nintra, Nintra. I would love to connect with you, love to see how you're enjoying the podcast. And I'm still looking for some guests for future episodes. So hit me up. Welcome, everybody. So, on today's podcast, we're going to talk about my podcast is rooted in things that I am going through, living, or lessons that I've come away with on this journey called life. And I just like to share them with you. And so I did want to post something for Valentine's Day, but honestly, nothing authentic was coming to me. Valentine's Day has just been another day for a long, long time, probably my entire life. So, um, yeah, I didn't want to just post just for the sake of doing it. I like things to be authentic and to be real to me, and I feel like just that authenticity benefits my audience in a way that is better than me just posting for the sake of posting. So yeah, I didn't really have anything for Valentine's Day, but I hope you are doing well on your self-love journey. What I am going to talk to you about today is why your self-care is not sticking. The real reason why your self-care won't stick. This did come to me recently. I've done a lot of work in the area of self-care, self-love, healing, growing, all of that stuff. And I'm like, why does it still feel like it's hard to do and maintain? Right? Good or on 1 minute, and then the next, I'm back to not caring for myself at the highest level that I should and I can. And you just wonder, what's going on? Well, if that's you, you're in the right place. I came to a realization on this. The real reason your self care won't stick is because you are operating on an old operating system. I think of it like a computer. When I worked at one of the schools I worked at, they had a Mac sitting on the desk, and it's got the big monitor, you've got the keyboard, you've got the mouse, you're excited. Ooh, this is nice. And then you go in it and it's operating on a Windows system, an old Windows system. I don't even think it was Windows 10. It was a very old operating system. But we got a shiny Mac on the outside, but inside, things were slow. It wouldn't work. It just wouldn't program correct. Things wouldn't download right. Things didn't work because it was what was inside that mattered, not what the outside looked like. And so I realized that as I'm doing all of these great things I'm supposed to do for myself, it's almost like trying to present a certain way on the outside, but it wasn't authentically deep down inside of me. And so it had a shelf life. It burned out, it didn't stick, right? Started the journey right, and it went back to not resting, went back to not caring for myself, taking good care of myself, went back to doing things that just didn't benefit me, right? Going to bed late, not drinking enough water, having critical inner voice, that came back. A lot of those things came back. And I'm like, but I'm on this journey to heal and love myself and care for myself, demonstrate that I love myself in the way I treat myself and care for myself. And why isn't that sticking? Why does it work for a week or two and then I'm back to bad habits? Because the internal operating system has not shifted. It hasn't changed. The outside's changed. The inside is still the same. And where did we get that inside from? We got it from life, from our past, right? So think about it. If you are used to not caring for yourself, sorry guys, I don't know if you just heard my cat. If you are used to not caring for yourself, right? Because maybe you grew up where you had to care about other people more than you cared about you. Maybe you grew up where people would criticize you for doing that. Oh, who do you think you are? Do you think you're this? Or trying to humble you, by try to bring you down a notch or two. And that's often done by being critical of you or whatever it is. Self-preservation is really one of those things that are innate. No one, look at humans, animals, no one's first thought is, how can I deny myself? How can I not care for me? But life will teach you, if you don't grow up in a healthy environment, life will teach you to not care for you. And that it becomes hardwired, right? Going back to my analogy of a computer and an operating system, that becomes your operating system. That is hardwired in you and how you see the world, how you view yourself, and the actions you take day to day. It becomes hardwired in you. So just take a second and think, what is my operating system? Ask yourself that question. What did I learn about taking care of me, about valuing me, the value of me, about doing for me? Was that encouraged growing up, or was I taught to deny and deprive myself? Was I taught to extend energy more outward than I would inward? Was I taught to do for others, but not ever do and take care of me? These are the questions to ask yourself to figure out what is your operating system. And if you did have a healthy operating system, if it was instilled in you, self-care, self-love, all those great things, then wonderful. But if it wasn't, then you have to understand you're starting from ground zero. Even as a 20-something, 30-something, 40-something, 50-something year old woman. My audience is a range from 20s and up. It doesn't matter what age you are. Emotionally, you are starting from the beginning. As you are learning to tear down the old operating system and give it an upgrade and become a person who really values self-care. Not because you're trying to force something that doesn't come naturally to you, but you are now on a journey of trying to build yourself to a place where it is natural, where it is just your internal operating system of, I take care of me. You're starting over. And when I realized that, it was the key for me. It unlocked everything. It made sense why I'm on this years-long journey and I'm still resetting myself with, nope, that critical voice needs to go away. You need to be kind to yourself. You need to talk kindly to yourself. Love your body by giving it the rest it needs. Love your body by eating foods that nourish it and don't deplete it and wear on it, right? You could eat some things that just wear on your body. You feel heavy, opposed to eating things that make you feel energized and and healthy and good, right? Doing activities that make you feel good and not putting yourself in things that don't make you feel good. These are things that I really had to sit with and understand that it's not just the action of doing. It's about changing the internal operating system that was developed in you from when you were young. I was taught from a very young age to deny, deprive myself. So you think that's going to go away just because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm mid-30s and I want to change and do better? That's great. It starts there. But that self-care is not going to stick if I don't first do the work of upgrading my operating system. And the same is for you. So how do we do this? How do we get the self-care to actually be a lifestyle? Not a one-off, not I'm good for 2 weeks and I go back. How do we really make these changes that stick with us? Well, first, you have to identify what's the operating system inside of you? What are you operating on? You have to name it specifically. That requires you to sit with yourself, do some internal work where you sit with yourself and you go deep and you ask yourself, what did I learn from life, from people, about how to treat myself, right? Because sometimes it's explicit, sometimes it's implicit. Sometimes you might have had that parent that was like, who do you think you are? You ain't nobody. You better go sit down. Or somebody trying to humble you all the time. Maybe it was an explicit, you ain't, you know? And then maybe it was just, you got the message, right? You got the message from parents, family members, friends, life, just kind of humbled you in a way that you didn't deserve. Identify what's your operating system? What are you operating on exactly? What are those messages? One of the messages for me is that I got the message from school that I didn't matter. That if I needed to get that paper done, I needed to stay up till 3 a.m. to get that paper done. Who cares about your sleep? And then I went into a profession that encouraged that even more, because then they guilted you by adding kids on top. Oh, if you're not willing to work yourself to the bone, do you actually care about kids? Do you actually want them to grow? Do you actually want them to be successful? If you really care, then why aren't you willing to go above and beyond? You were praised and celebrated for how much you went above and beyond for others, to the denial of self. So I learned a lot of messages from a lot of different sources on how much I didn't matter. So even now as I am stepping away from that as a woman in her mid-30s, I still have that internal operating system subconsciously working through me that I don't matter. So yeah, no wonder I can't like stick with this or that. That's good for me. No wonder my voice is so critical, because I took on the voice of my critics, my employers, my professors, or just my own internal inner voice that just learned to achieve their worth from how well they did in school and at a job. So my own voice is just as critical as the external voices, right? That's a realization I came to, and it made everything make sense. The me that wants to be new is battling decades of history. And so that's not going to go away in a season. So one, identify what it is for you. What's your internal operating system? Recognize that you are fighting an uphill battle and give yourself grace. That's step 2. And then step 3, dismantle the old operating system by building up a new one. It is that simple, but it's not that easy. But what I will tell you is once you realize every action, every step I'm taking is dismantling that old system I've been operating on and is building up a new one, you'll approach your self-care a lot differently. You're not just getting sleep because you know it's what you should do. No, you're rewriting the narrative that you must sacrifice your rest for everyone else. So now you're not just eating good because, oh, yep, that's what they say. Now you're not just taking your supplements and your vitamins because, oh, yeah, they say that you need to take this. No, now you're doing it. The reasons are personal. Now you're doing it because I am dismantling old narratives that said I don't matter. I do matter. Watch how much. I'm going to take my supplements. I do matter. Watch how much. Yep, this needs to be done, but I'm going to bed. I do matter. Watch how much. Those actions will reinforce the new operating system you are creating within you. I matter this much. I'm going to do this. Now you have to figure out what that is for you. Because I can tell you what my examples are. I would love to go into detail about that, but mine might not be yours. You have to figure out what that is for you. But just say to yourself, I matter this much that I'm going to do blank. And I would even say it out loud and name it, because that is connecting it to you dismantling the old narrative that you don't matter. I matter this much. I'm going to the gym for 30 minutes. I'm not going to do this over that, because me going to the gym is just as important as me doing this other thing. You have to take steps to build up the new version of yourself. And as you keep doing it and as you keep naming it, particularly that this is what I'm doing, because even self-care can get on autopilot, right? Your heart's not even in it anymore. You just know, oh yeah, I should moisturize my hair. Oh yeah, I should do this. Oh yeah, I should do that. I should. It's not should. I'm not compelled. I am doing this because I am rewriting the narrative that said I don't matter. That's why I'm doing this. That's why this is important. There's no shoulds here. I'm not doing this under compulsion. I'm doing this in an effort and a desire to update the operating system that I have been on for decades. Right? That's how we need to approach this. If you're approaching your self-care from shoulds, that's why it's not sticking. So every step you take, every little bit of self-care you give to yourself, just remind yourself, this is rewriting the narrative. This is changing me from the inside out. So the next 20 years of my life won't be like the first 20. The next 30 years of my life won't be like the last 30. I'm on a new system. And then in 30 years, you're probably going to get on a new one, right? Onward and upward. But it starts with recognizing that you are operating on an old system, even though you're trying to be a new person. You have to name what that is for you and take concrete steps to dismantle that. Just quickly, some of the tips that I'm taking, some of the things that I'm doing, just want to give you maybe a couple of tips. How to concretely dismantle the old system and wire in a new one of saying you matter. I get up and I drink water. Something as simple as drinking water and being intentional about drinking water. I would intentionally deprive myself of water when I was a teacher because I couldn't go to the bathroom when I wanted to. So now I am intentionally drinking water. I am intentionally taking my supplements. I'm even choosing which ones because I have a lot. Oh, yeah, I'm going to take the grass-fed liver because the grass-fed beef liver because I want to build up in my iron because that's good for me as a woman. Oh, yep, I'm going to take that vitamin B12 because I want energy. I need support in energizing my body so I can have the energy to go throughout the day and wire in that new me. Or I bought a coloring book, beautiful coloring book. I bought a coloring book because my mind is often in a million different places because I learned that my mind had to be on everybody and everything but me. So coloring helps me to still my mind and be intentional about what it is I'm doing in that moment. You can't color aimlessly, right? You can't color mindlessly. What happens if you do that? You're outside the lines, things aren't blending, it just don't look good, right? It requires your focus. And so in that moment, I'm focusing on me in this activity. So something as simple as that. I'm wiring in a new me that says, nope, get your mind off everybody else and everything else and get your mind on what you want to do in this moment. So it's those concrete steps. And something that I put in my mind just to remind myself of this is what you're doing, I'm calling it be serious. If I had to sum up my new self-care journey, it is be serious. 2 words. That's the thing that came to me because I realized I was doing this without a seriousness. And if you know me, I kind of approach everything in life with 100%. School, work, friends, family, you name it. Everything has always gotten 100%. And then when it comes to me, it's like, oh well, I missed breakfast. Oh well, I didn't drink water today. Oh well, I didn't take my supplements. Oh well, I'll just try again tomorrow. Yeah, I'm going to bed at midnight again, but oh well. No. So for me, the 2 words to sum up my new self-care journey is to be serious. If you had to give your self-care journey 2 words, what would you name it? And since naming mine Be Serious, it's completely changed everything. I'm doing all of the things every day, not out of compulsion, but out of true care for me. Because my well-being matters. Your well-being matters. And so doing those things reinforces that idea. So ladies, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I wish you the very best on your new self-care journey for 2024. I'm telling you, you follow the steps from this podcast episode, it's going to shift. Your self-care journey will be unlike anything it has been up until this point. I guarantee it because I'm living it right now and I am seeing the fruit of it. And I'm just so happy about where I am at this point in my life. And so I want the same for you, as always. Thank you for listening in, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Dear Single Women's Podcast.